Hello, BookTube. And hello, AuthorTube. Are you there, AuthorTube? Is anybody there? AuthorTube? Does AuthorTube still exist? Or should we just start something? Should we start WriterTube and just start fresh? Who knows? The surveys of AuthorTube that I have taken in the last year have been grim in their results. I've seen people, almost exclusively people, hawking their wares. I don't really care about what I'm saying. I certainly don't care about you. I'm never going to respond to any comments in the comments field. I don't care whether you write a word or not. What I want is to cultivate an audience of sheeple who will pay for my books or my courses when I roll them out. Which is, if true, if that's all that AuthorTube has become, that's a sad fate for what once started with wide, idealistic eyes. Nevertheless, there are plenty of you out there who write, and there aren't as many of you out there who write as should write. Right? You should all write more than you do. I say that on this channel all the time. If you don't write, you should certainly do it. And if you consider yourself a writer, but you only dabble once a year, well, it's time to write a lot. And fortunately, there's an event coming up that will help with that. NaNoWriMo is in November. National Novel Writing Month starts on the stroke of midnight on the 1st of November, in which hundreds of thousands of people all around the world drop what they're doing or somehow add it to what they're doing and write a novel of 50,000 words in the month of November. The whole of a first draft of a novel in 1 month. The only way that you're going to up your chances of doing that is if you're doing nothing but writing during November. If you are plotting, it's unlikely that you will reach that goal. That's 1,667 words a day. You can't be plotting while you're doing that. Not from whole cloth. Also, needless to say, you cannot edit while you do that. You shouldn't be editing while you write anyway, under any circumstances. But the whole point of NaNoWriMo being 1 month instead of 5 months is to force you not to edit while you write. You should not edit while you write. You don't drive with the brakes on. You shouldn't edit while you write. And if you're doing NaNoWriMo, you absolutely can't. You won't have the time to do it. A little bit here and there, but otherwise, no. Not the stuff that all the rest of you get hung up on so that you'll spend, an hour writing something and then 50 days editing what you wrote. Ridiculous. Don't do that. Just don't do that. Editing you write a project, you type the end, you put all the project together, you put it away, and you open it again next Christmas. Then you edit. Then is when you edit. Not a month later, not 2 months later, not while you're writing, but next Christmas. You can't be doing editing either while you're doing NaNoWriMo. You really have to get all the preliminary stuff done ahead of time. You have to build your world. You have to come up with your idea. You have to people it with characters. You have to construct your plot. You have to field test your plot to find out where it's going to cause you trouble in the dreaded Heartbreak Hill of the second week of NaNoWriMo. You have to do all of that ahead of time to increase your chances of getting to 50,000 words, which is why the NaNoWriMo community dubs October as Preptober. Because that's when you can be doing your prepping. But I want to say in this video that in addition to Preptober, there should also be Preptember. And they should be two separate things. September should be when you decide what you want to write. The broad, general aspect of what you want to write. We can leave for October the filling in of the specifics. In Preptember, you should be deciding what it is you want to write and why. What kind of a thing do you want to do in the broadest, most general sense of the word? It'd be a good time for you to disabuse yourself of the temptation to write what's popular or what you think will be popular. Anyone who writes to a market is going to write garbage, and not the good kind of garbage. You should write what you want to read. In anything, at any time, when you're not working for a degree or a deadline, you should write what you want to read. And even when you're writing for a deadline, write the kind of thing that you'd like to read. But when you're writing fiction for the fun of it, which is what NaNoWriMo is, believe it or not, it will be fun. If you haven't written and you think it's a huge uphill chore, you're wrong. First couple of weeks aren't a huge uphill chore, and after that, you will not have experienced anything like the experience of working on your book. I'm telling you that. I've told you that for years. It's absolutely true, and anybody who's ever done it can confirm. You won't have experienced anything like it. You will never let it go again. Not completely. You'll never let it go again once you felt it. But it's time enough to do all of that kind of specific writing in Preptember and Preptober. In Preptember, you should be thinking of what it is you want to do. Divorce it from the market. What do I want to write? Now, in NaNoWriMo proper, it's got to be fiction. And it's got to be something you've never written before. It can't be reworking an old draft of something. So it's whole cloth, and that is big thinking. fun thinking, but big thinking. You have to go through the whole universe of possibilities. What is it that you want to do? Doesn't matter if the idea is derivative. If you feel like writing a rom-com, fine, as long as you genuinely feel like doing that. If your idea of writing a rom-com is that rom-coms do well, you won't make it past the first week of NaNoWriMo. And if you do, by some miracle, get to 50,000 words, they'll be lifeless words. They'll be manipulative words. Don't do that. You're going to be dead in about 10 minutes, so you don't have the time to waste on that kind of nonsense. Instead, figure out what you want to write. Let's talk in September about what we want to write in November. We can figure out the details in October, but what kind of thing should we do in September? Like for me, what should I do in September? What kind of a thing should it be? Science fiction? High fantasy? Epic fantasy? A courtroom drama? A romance? Straight up literary fiction? Maybe a satire of straight up literary fiction? Historical fiction? My love? My favorite? What should it be? Those are the kinds of questions you should be asking in September. You absolutely shouldn't put it off. You shouldn't think, well, I can ask all those questions in October. Believe me, hatching out the plot and blocking out the movements of every character and what they're like and what their pasts are, that's going to take you all of October. You should have the idea of what you're going to do well in place before then. So let's put our heads together and figure out what it is we're going to write in November. What are we going to prep in October? What is Preptember for us for NaNoWriMo 2023? What are you going to do? Political satire? Humor? Very hard to do humor. Almost as hard to do humor as it is to do action. Are you going to do an action thriller? What's it going to be? I want you all to join me for NaNoWriMo. No more excuses. I want you all to join me in writing for NaNoWriMo, and the only excuse you will have when November 1st rolls around is that you're not ready. Well, that's what these 2 months are for, so you don't have that excuse. So what are you going to do? Sound off in the comments field. Email me, Voxer me, all you like. Tell me what is the general thing you're thinking of, in the most general terms imaginable, for Preptember. What are you thinking about writing? Tell me all. I am curious to know. So that is a video, a writing video to launch us into September, when I expect that writing will be on your mind every day. Otherwise, you won't be able to join me in November, and you'll never hear the end of it. So I'm going to wrap this up for now, author 2, but I'll be back. Thank you.